Now let's look at the equality operators in JavaScript. There are actually two of them. There's the triple equal sign and there's the double equal sign. And they both take two values or variables on both of its sides. So let's take a look. We're going to start with the triple equals. So the triple equal sign, what it does is that it compares the two values that it is provided. If those values are exactly equal and exactly the same, it returns true, or else it returns false, right? So I'm going to say, let's say 2 triple equals 2. If I do that, it says, yes, it's true. Now let's say if I provide, let's say true is equal to true, it's going to say, yes, that's true as well. If I say null is equal to null, that's true. And if I say undefined, the undefined is equal to undefined, and it's going to say true. So it's basically comparing two values. Now let's say if I compare undefined triple equals null, it's going to say no, undefined is different and null is different. It's not equal, so it's going to return false. Similarly, if I try to do, let's say, a string, which is text is equal to triple equals, text is going to say true, but if I just make it whatever, blah, 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 it's going to say false. Now let's look at something very interesting, all right? So I'm going to say a string of 2 triple equals 2. It's going to say false because this is a number, all right, and this is a string. So it says, no, this is a string, and a string of 2, value of 2, cannot be equal to a number value 2, right? So it's basically comparing both of the values exactly equal. They have to be the exact same kind and with the exact same value, all right? Now let's look at one additional thing which is very interesting. So let's say if I make an array and triple equals an array, it's going to say false. Weird, right? Let's try the object. So I'm going to do an object and put the object symbol over here as well, and it says false. That's pretty weird. Okay, let's try something else. I'm going to create a function which is simply going to do nothing, right? And I'm going to create a function which is also going to do nothing. So it's exactly the same thing. And now if I hit enter, oops, there's a syntax error because I did not provide a name of the function. So let's say I'm simply going to wrap this function in these codes, so it can evaluate this as an expression and compare the values. So if I do that, it says false. So we noticed with our example right now that when, let's go back to our cheat sheet number 1, when we are comparing primitive types, the triple equals sign compares the value exactly and then returns true or false. So as we expected. So we tried the string, the number, the boolean, the null, the undefined. We did not try symbol, but it's going to work exactly the same. But when we are comparing objects or non-primitive types, they are identified uniquely in the JavaScript engine. So what it means to you is that when you actually create, let's say I'm going to come over here and just create an object. When I create an object, I'm going to call it, let's say, var a is equal to object and var b is equal to the same kind of object, like totally empty object. What JavaScript does is it creates a new instance of the object. So let's say if you go to a store and there are a lot of bottles of water. There are a lot of bottles. They're exactly the same. But each bottle is its own thing. It's not a different thing. It's a different bottle every time on the shelf. So similarly, in JavaScript, when you're dealing with objects, arrays, functions, which are all objects, they are identified uniquely in the JavaScript engine. But as for the primitive types, the values are evaluated versus their own identity. Okay, so that's why when you are comparing primitive types, 2 is equal to triple equals 2, it's comparing the value. But if you are comparing a non-primitive type in JavaScript, like an object, it's exactly comparing if this instance is exactly the same instance over here. All right, so that's what it's comparing. So in our case, if you want to get a true value here, you have to say a is equal to this, all right? And then a triple equals a, and then only it's going to say true, because A, which is the same exact instance, and A is the exact same instance, is the exact same thing. Make sense? Now, comparing one more thing, just to clarify a little bit further, the same concept. So we already have A, which is this, right? And now let's say I'm going to create a new variable var B and provide value A inside here, right? So what I'm doing is that A has this object, but then B is now referring to whatever is in A. So B and A are both pointing to the same object. Now, if I say A equals B, then it's going to say true, because A and B are exactly the same. They're actually pointing to the same object. It doesn't matter if your object has a value or does not have a value. So it can have a key and some kind of value, or it can be totally empty. It doesn't matter. Whenever you create an object, you're creating a new instance of the object. So that's pretty much it, what I wanted to discuss with you in this video about the triple equals operator. And in the meantime, you understood how the primitive types in JavaScript differ from the objects in JavaScript. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to talk to you in the next video where we're going to learn about the double equals operator. Talk to you then.